According to current archaeological theory, North and South America never saw a human footprint or felt the hand of man on its perfect harmony until very recent times. For millions of years, one half of the planet Earth was completely devoid of human life. Flora and fauna in the Western Hemisphere flourished and perished, evolved and extincted, in a flow of life controlled only by natural acts, cosmic calamities, or the benign neglect of the otherwise occupied mind of God. Meanwhile, the other side of the planet was a hotbed of primate evolution. 12,000 miles and half a planet's distance away from Camano Island, in the land now called Africa, the human species stumbled into existence, scientists say, over 2 million years ago. These humans were pretty successful survivors in the game of life. They were warm-blooded, and that gave them control of their environment. They were good parents, and that allowed them to construct a complex social structure. They were smart. This branch of the human tree was not the only experiment involving primates. Two-legged mammals of all kinds popped up. Some prevailed, some faltered. Many human-like groups flourished, only to disappear into extinction. Eventually, the most successful, a scrappy brand of primates now called Homo sapiens, found themselves dominant and utterly in charge. Before you knew it, this clever new species was starting to make their mark on this planet they found themselves inhabiting. They discovered that they could utilize objects in their world that other mammals simply coexisted with, like stones and sticks and sound-making instruments. They made tools. They used the tools to make art and weapons, and they started to change the planet to suit their needs. They formed communities that worked together. They invented the dreaded ceremony called a meeting. They also invented a group of gestures and noises and warnings that their group understood. These became a language that would bond them further to their group. Early humans spent much of their lives in fear. They worshipped or fled from forces they didn't understand. They learned to hunt in packs. These hunting packs would fight to protect the tribe from other tribes' hunting packs, which they called armies. They discovered fire and made tools from rocks that melted in that fire. Now they made even more efficient killing groups. They learned the meaning of love. And with it, the pain of betrayal. And they surprised themselves in their delight in art and music. This new species, man, prospered and struck a balance with the planet. It was an experiment in genetics that seemed to be working well. The humans spent the next 1 million years moving around to anywhere they wanted to go on this half of the Earth. Meanwhile, according to today's science, there was this huge mass of land, rivers, lakes, mountains, jungles, and deserts that the human race had no knowledge of or contact with. North and South America, thousands of ocean-wide, miles away, just cooked and bubbled with its own brand of humanless evolution, like a giant, unattended, self-sustaining zoo. Only recently, according to accepted scientific theory, and I mean very recently, has the animal known as Homo sapiens found their way to the other side of the planet. Changes in ocean levels and polar ice masses between what is now known as Alaska and the easternmost tip of Siberia apparently caused a land bridge to link the two sides of the world for, in Earth terms, a very short time. Most accepted theories of civilization spread say that this land bridge opened up on the few occasions that great waves of glacial ice spread across the planet's northern half like a giant, mile-high, slowly southward moving slab of cheese. These first visitors to the Western Hemisphere didn't leave many traces of their journey southward from the Arctic Circle. In order to understand what happened, present-day science has had to guess at their progress as they traveled on foot to the south. Archaeologists base their conclusions on artifacts that they find today. Until recently, the oldest objects found in North America were spear points and stone tools and weapons, which seem to date to from 9,000 to 11,000 years ago. Since a lot of the first spear point evidence turned up near the area called Clovis in New Mexico, the first human North American migration has been referred to as the Clovis Point Culture. After 1 million or 2 years of human habitation, the first side of the planet was becoming a familiar neighborhood. Groups of like-minded people, as they were beginning to think of themselves, formed nests of dwellings where there was safety and diversity and a common interest. This was the beginning of a way of life for the humans on the planet Earth. They called it civilization. Civilizations were settlements where different people had different skills and worked together as a group. These social structures took thousands of years to get sorted out. On the old side of the Earth, civilizations popped up all over the place. Some grew mighty, some blossomed, then faltered. Some societies tried to conquer every other civilization they could find. Some others preferred to become isolated and self-contained. During this dawning of mankind, the polar ice cap was growing and shrinking in 20,000-year cycles. Trees, vegetation, and animal populations always came back as the ice sheets melted northward, only to be scraped away in the next ice advance 20,000 years down the road. With the melting of the last great ice sheet, the ocean level rose over 80 feet, leaving North and South America once again separated and unreachable. Science says that the few visitors to this side of the planet, after a many thousand-mile walk during really lousy weather, were now marooned in this natural paradise. A Garden of Eden, one half a world wide. With nothing to do but hang out, the small bands lived the good life in a land of plenty. Strangers in a fertile paradise. On the first side of the earth, the old side, business was booming. Cities were being invented, mathematics was discovered, languages proliferated, and technology, metallurgy, and navigation were changing everything.
There is power enough to seize or destroy the world. And only I know how to release and control it. Must be kept insulated. And it would be fatal to open it unless in the presence of these protective fumes I discovered.
Humans were worshiping everything in sight. Whatever they didn't understand was either feared or kissed up to. Organized religions grew rapidly in this environment. Many cultures slowly assembled fables, dire warning lessons, and social suggestions, and spun them into a long pseudo-historical text, which used the promise of life after death to get their populations to behave. It worked really, really well. The old world, therefore, was rich in history, discovery, invention, and enjoyed a million-year heritage of stories and beliefs. The New World had a few ragtag bands of risk-takers from Siberia wandering around in a virgin ecosystem. There's a popular archaeological viewpoint which is based on this premise. It suggests that the few humans stranded in the Western Hemisphere by the melting of the last great ice sheet weren't in any great rush to form technically interesting civilizations until pretty recent times. They didn't have to. Life was good. There were no neighbors and the drinks were free.
The Clovis Point people model has been accepted by scientists for 50 years. It places a date for the first North American visitors at 11,000 years ago. The Clovis Point theory suggests that organized human behavior never occurred in North or South America until well after the beginning of the last ice age. But there is ascension in the archaeological ranks. Recent discoveries and subsequent research are tearing this theory all to hell. Science, for all its brilliance and innovation, does not take kindly to change. In the last 20 years of the 20th century, new finds suggesting a much earlier migration into South America, Mexico, and the Pacific Northwest have threatened the very roots of our assumptions about the dawn of culture on this planet. With each new find, the dates of human habitation in North and South America are pushed further and further back. In fact, the objects on Earth on a little island in Puget Sound, in Washington State, are causing a rethinking of the entire story of humankind. The discovery of the Mount Vernon culture could change everything.